St. John's Passion that we've just heard contains one of the most iconic scenes of the whole gospel. Mary and John stand at the foot of the cross. Jesus says to John, "Behold your mother," and to Mary, "Behold your son." Until the Reformation, almost every church in England had that scene depicted on the rood screen separating nave and chancel. I guess there was once one here. I say iconic deliberately because that little scene is much more than it appears. Of course, you can simply take it at the literal level. It is perfectly possible that before his death, Jesus arranged for his mother to live with a disciple who was closest to him. If you go to Ephesus, you can see the house where John and Mary were supposed to have lived together, and there is evidence that John died there in old age, the only apostle not to have been martyred. But the reason John's Gospel gives us this scene at the foot of the cross is much more than historical or biographical. It isn't there to satisfy our curiosity about what happened to Jesus' mum and his best friend. John's Gospel seems to have a partly chiastic structure, which means that elements at the beginning and the end seemed to be designed to mirror each other, like a diptych. The story of Jesus and Mary with John at the foot of the cross in chapter 19 mirrors another iconic story in chapter 2, where Jesus and Mary also appear, together with the disciples, at the wedding in Cana in Galilee. In the Cana story, you remember, Jesus was terribly rude to his mother. It's one of several stories where Jesus relativizes and downplays the importance of family ties. But Cana is the sharpest example of several of those stories. They run out of wine, and Mary says to Jesus, reasonably enough, "Look, they've run out of wine." Jesus then turns to her and says, "Woman, what have you got to do with me? My hour is not yet come." It sounds terribly ungracious, almost a slap in the face. Some English translations try to soften it, but in the Greek it is unavoidably harsh. Ti soi kai emoi, literally, what is there to you and to me? What have we got in common? The only other time that that phrase is used in the Gospels is when Jesus is talking to demons. And it inescapably implies a great gulf between Jesus and Mary, as if they are on opposite sides, which, from the Gospel point of view, they are. Theologically, the point is being made that even though she is his mother, Mary is still part of fallen creation. She still stands in need of redemption. But crucially, Jesus adds, "My hour is not yet come." The hour in John's Gospel always means the hour of the cross. And here, now, the hour of the cross has come. And here is Mary again, with the beloved disciple. Jesus again addresses her as woman and says she is to be the mother of the disciple and he to be her son. The fact that Mary in both instances is addressed as woman puts Mary in the place of Eve, the archetypal woman, once a sinner, now redeemed. You find the same association is made in Revelation chapter 12, where the mother of the Messiah is shown as the new Eve in glory, her heel crushing the serpent who tricked her, crowned with 12 stars, and watching over the rest of her offspring, whom the serpent is still persecuting on earth. Mary is the new Eve, the new Israel, and mother not only of John, but of all Jesus' beloved disciples in his new family, the church. By the way, if anyone ever tells you devotion to Mary is unbiblical, you can tell them to boil their heads. The point of the two stories in John's diptych is that merely human closeness to Jesus meant nothing. All have sinned, all have fallen short. But the cross means that all relationships can be renewed and restored through the fundamental reconciliation brought by Christ's sacrifice. I don't know about you, but I find this deeply reassuring. John's gospel is reminding us that absolutely everything in human life needs redeeming, even motherhood and apple pie. However much we love them, we all know we carry around wounds of different kinds inflicted by those closest to us. It was Rowan Williams, I think, who wrote, "Home is where the hurt is." Philip Larkin, in his famous little poem about how your mum and dad muck you up, finishes it by saying, "Man hands on misery to man. It deepens like a coastal shelf. Get out as quickly as you can and don't have any kids yourself." But that really is much, much too cynical. Because although it is true that the perfect family doesn't exist, the good news is that Christ's wounds can transfigure our wounds and turn them into blessings. By his stripes, we are healed. And that means all the relationships that have made us us can be healed too, whether in this life or the next. His love and forgiveness can reach up into our hearts and down into our guts and out into our families and friends and neighbors to put right whatever has been mucked up, however late in the day and however deep the hurt has gone. And that's important because as Christians we are not allowed to be determinists. We are not allowed to say that the person we are is settled by our past or our parents, and that's that. We all start with a certain given, yes, and we all have various advantages and disadvantages inherited from our parents and our past experience. But by the love of God, we are redeemed. And as long as we let him in, whatever we started with will be recreated in his likeness, into the person he means us to be. So while we are here for this hour with Mary and John at the foot of the cross, give thanks for your own parents, for your own family, for everyone close to you who has shaped you, father, mother, grandparents, children, grandchildren, partner, friends, neighbors, all the network of people living and departed who have made you who you are. Offer them up with Christ's sacrifice and ask him to fulfill his purposes in you and in them as well. And so may he make us all and all our loves healed and whole and holy in the image of his.